Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're getting our final review of Elegy by Shadow of Intent. Well, we have spent the entire week listening to this album, and I think I'd like to pass the floor to TV Fish.
Okay, so we listened to this album for the entire past week, and I enjoyed it. One thing I noticed, and I believe I talked to you about this during the week, or maybe even around the time that we listened to it for the first time when it released, is that it's very symphonic, like very much so, and I thought, oh, this is more than normal, but I had to go listen to Melancholy again to make sure that it was a little different, and it was. I found that in Melancholy, it's there, it's totally there. But in this album, it has a lot more of a focus. It's a lot more at the forefront and interacts with the music a lot more than the last record. And I like that a lot because it gives this album distinction. It doesn't sound like Melancholy 2 or anything of the sort. It sounds like its own thing. And I really appreciate that the band can stand out on their own within their own sound, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but to me, it seemed like Ben's growls are a lot deeper on this record as well. That's another thing I noticed after listening to Melancholy. I put this one back on, I'm like, whoa, he's way lower.
That's an interesting point because I don't think they're lower. What I think it is that Melancholy was a lot heavier of an album, so with the contrast of his vocals with the music makes it sound a lot deeper than it really is, whereas the music on Melancholy was a lot heavier, so the vocals were more blended in. I think that's what might be what it is, but if not, cool observation. I didn't notice that. He's deep no matter what. He's got incredible low range.
That's another thing to note, though, that, yeah, Melancholy perhaps was heavier, but this one's a lot more emotional, a lot sadder. And the solo, there's like kind of like two solos that happened in Farewell. There's like a mini solo earlier on, than the actual full solo. And I said this in our new releases video of when this album came out, that out of the 3 albums that released that day, the solo in Farewell was my favorite. I can probably still say the same thing, and a big part of it is the emotion. A lot of the solos, out of all the albums that we've heard in the past few weeks, have been crazy, wild, just all over, like, nuts, noodling, whatever. Yeah. This one's emotion.
Did you say noodling?
Yeah, like guitar, noodling on guitar?
Noodling, I don't know.
That's totally a thing, yeah, they just kind of...
New to me.
Anyway,
I like it, though.
noodling. This one's very emotional, doesn't really just punch you in the face, it kind of just pulls you along for the ride with that solo, especially with how it's built up to it. Beautiful, beautiful solo, and I love it every single time I hear it. Reconquest, what do you think of that song after hearing it a bunch? It is an instrumental track, they kind of vamp on this groove the whole time. Like, what do you think of that?
Might get hate for this. I think that track sucks. I think it's boring. I think it's skippable. I am vastly disappointed in it because this band is capable of so much more. The Dreaded Mystic Abyss is a way better song. That was their instrumental from the last album. And you know what? We've already mentioned Melancholy 7 times. And it's not, again, we try not to compare this album to that album, but it's about point of reference. It's about what we know this band can do. That's a 2 Toe Tag album. That album, you know, got our highest score. So we use previous albums as a point of reference. Their instrumental song on that album was over 10 minutes long, and it's fucking amazing. It's a great instrumental. This one is half the length, and it's, to me, was boring as fuck. My first listen, I thought it was good. I think in our first impressions video, I think I mentioned it, going, "Oh yeah, their instrumental on this is pretty good." But dude, it's uneventful. For me, it became a skippable track. Sad to say.
It has a bass solo, man.
Sad to say.
How can you not like the bass solo?
Don't fucking care. It didn't do it for me, man.
For nothing. What the heck?
I found it boring. It bored me.
It's a cool groove. I can understand that, especially with the point of reference that the last instrumental was as crazy as it was. But if we're going to talk about the 10-minute tracks, the title track of this album is split in between 3 tracks, which all add up to, I think, over 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I like them quite a bit. I mean, it was, the sections all start in the perfect spots. They all start at a point in the overall composition that you can jump into any part and it won't feel like you missed something. It'll feel like you're jumping into just a regular track. And that is very, very clever, like, splitting of the tracks. Like, they did a great job with that.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. However, I do feel like the third part, Elegy 3 Overcome, is the strongest of the three, which I guess is like...
it ramps up to a finale, right?
Ramps up to the finale. I guess that makes sense. I feel like the trilogy is decent, but I don't feel like it has the epic kind of vibe that it sought after. At least what I assume it sought after. I don't know. Maybe it missed the mark for me, the trilogy. But I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was bad.
Well,
but it just, I wanted it to be a little bit more like, oh my god, I need more of this.
If we're going to talk about, I guess, emotion a little bit more, what did you think of Life of Exile?
Life of Exile. So, this is pretty much the one song on the album where it kind of changes up the vibe. I feel like a lot of the songs are very same in the vibe. Life of Exile is a change up. It offers the most vocal diversity of all the tracks I found. There's just a few little things happening there. But I still don't feel like it was really a standout track as far as being like exceptionally good. It's a standout track in the sense that it sounds a little different than the rest, but not like mind-blowing, gotta add this to my playlist type of thing.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was a great midpoint break, and I also just love how sad it is, and it really, helps set the tone for this album being just a lot more depressed sounding than the last record. And every time it came on, and I noticed this early on in the week, I'm like, wow, this is a powerful song. Like how I noticed that with the guitar solo in Farewell. Mm-hmm. One small thing I noticed about Blood in the Sands of Time, that the breakdown in that song isn't like lots of quotes on this, traditional breakdown, but in my head I think, okay, they're going to break down here, and then it goes into a blast beat. And it kind of just subverted my expectation every time. So I'm like, oh yeah, cool. That's a cool little thing, a little bit outside the box, and I like that. Chuck Billy from Testament is also on that track, and for a while it was really hard to hear where he is in the song.
Did you find it?
I was listening closer and closer, and you can hear him in the chorus, but it is a bit tough to tell.
Yeah.
And that is a little bit of a detriment, only because he has a really, pronounced and defined voice, so to be able to not find it is a little bit weird considering his vocals.
They Waldo'd him. You used a funny word, I get to use a funny word. They Waldo'd him, you gotta find it. Where's Waldo?
I thought you said wallowed.
No, Waldo. They
Waldo'd him. Okay, fair enough.
They hit him on the track, is basically what I'm trying to say. Damn it! Stuff I liked. From Ruin We Rise, that's got the best solo on the album as far as I'm concerned. You like the one in Farewell, which I think is also good, but from Ruin We Rise, the way that solo kicks in, and I'm not going to try to do it with my mouth because that's ridiculous, but it's sick. If you want to know what I'm talking about, just listen to the song. And the solo stuff is awesome. Of Fury, which is one of the singles we reacted to the video, is, I think, probably the best track on the album, and I didn't feel that way at the beginning. At the beginning, it was actually one of my least favorite tracks. I felt like it was
too Dimmu Borgir.
No. A little bit try-hard, maybe. But it grew on me, and now I think it's one of my favorite tracks. The Dimmu Borgir thing is not just the voice thing. The voice thing is one aspect, but the Coming Fire, which is the track right before Of Fury, I hear a lot of Dimmu Borgir influences in that track. And it's not the vocals. It's the arrangement, the instrumentals. It sounds to me like a Dimmu Borgir song from In Sorta Diaboli era that's performed by Shadow of Intent, which is not a bad thing. Throughout this whole album, in fact, I hear a lot of Dimmu Borgir similarities. That could be intentional, it could just be inspirational.
I think it is inspirational.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure they are an influence for this band.
Yes, I would assume so too. So this is not a bad thing, it's just something that I kind of noticed. But The Coming Fire, it's probably the most prominent example of this. And yeah, I thought that was cool. It was one of my highest rated tracks as well. I don't know. Saurian King. I don't even have any notes on that. What did you think of that? Do you have anything to say about that?
What did I think of Saurian King?
Yeah.
I didn't have any notes on it, but it was one of those songs that whenever it came on, I enjoyed it enough to add it to my playlist. Like, it kept coming on, I'm like, oh, that's sick. Oh, that riff. Oh, yeah, I gotta add this one. It was one of those tracks, and there was quite a few on this album that did that.
Yeah, see, for me, the songs were doing that to me too, but for me to add a song to my playlist, the song's got to stand out amongst those tracks for me. And that's one of the problems I have with this album. where songs like Farewell, Saurian King, Intensified Genocide, Where Millions Have Come to Die, Blood in the Sands of Time, all these songs are great tracks on their own, but they don't really stand out on the album. They don't really put a best foot forward type of thing. So it's hard to like, do I add the whole album to my playlist? Like, I want the gems, you know what I mean?
What if the album is the gem?
For me, it wasn't quite the gem. So let's get to ratings. I guess I'll go first. For me, the entire album kind of feels very samey, which is great for album consistency, but it's really bad for album contour and diversity. I feel like, and again, this is a comparison for reference and perspective, not really just this album versus that album, but I think this is a step down from Melancholy in several ways. This is more symphonic, which you were right. I'll take an L on that because last week you said it's more symphonic, and I said no, it's not. Melancholy was symphonic too, and then I went back and listened to Melancholy and I went, not nearly as symphonic, but way fucking better. It's way more interesting sonically. There's a lot more interesting stuff going on in Melancholy than there was here. I'm gonna give it a 7. I still think it's a fucking great album. It's solid as fuck, but it's not a toe tag album for me. It misses that mark just because it's not diverse enough for me. There's not enough contour there.
Well, I did find this album to have actually a good enough amount of contour, especially with tracks like Life of Exile and even Reconquest. Overall, I thought it was great. I liked how it was a different direction from Melancholy, and it was the kind of album that every time I put it on, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Like every time, I was looking forward to putting it on every time, and it did not lose the steam. So for that reason, it gets my toe tag. All 3 of the albums that released on such day got toe tags for me, and that is for good reason. Like that day was just a great day for metal all around. Like super duper stacked.
Yeah, well, there's another album from that day that we keep getting requests for.
There is.
Warm Shepherd. Maybe we'll do that at some point. Anyways, guys, I'm sorry, but it's not going on the list. It only got a 7 from me. Toe Tag from TV Fish. That's it for this video. Leave a comment down below and let us know what you guys think of Elegy after listening to it for a week or 2 weeks. It's been, what, 3 weeks now?
Yeah, it's been a few weeks.
It's been a few weeks. Comment down below. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
See you guys in the next one. Keep those heads banging.